to help us get set for tonight's game. We're joined live by John Viveiros, the host of Hot Take Hockey. John, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I was actually at the morning skate, saw Willie Nylander out on the ice looking a lot better today than he did in the previous morning skate. Sheldon Keefe saying there's a chance he plays tonight. If you're a betting man, are we going to see Willie Nylander?
So I think there's a chance we see him tonight, but I mean, there's been some speculation in a report from Nick Alberga from Daily Faceoff just saying that it could be a head or neck injury. And I think that's kind of why the precaution has been taking place here, is that they don't want to bring them into the lineup and the Boston Bruins be aware of said injury. But two, I think for a star player like William Nylander, and especially for a team that has the expectations to go on a deep run, you don't want to bring them in early on here in the first round and then set them up for failure for a potential long run for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I think there's both sides here for the fan base that hasn't seen a Stanley Cup since 1967, that until last year hadn't seen a first round victory since 2004. So I think for William Nylander, I think at the very least, if not tonight, we'll see him by Saturday. I think with the progress you saw earlier today in the morning skates, he did stay a little after the skate with expected scratch Noah Gregor. So I think that's where kind of the cross-up is happening here. He did look fairly healthy in that morning skate, but then stayed after where the potential scratches usually take place. So I think for William Nylander, I would expect some more urgency coming up this week. But I think the situation is looked at differently, especially with the Leafs tying up the series, coming back home. I think maybe if Nylander does miss tonight, they can afford one more game, especially with the series tied and being with the home ice advantage.
Yeah, the Leafs have had to adjust without William Nylander. One guy who was not on the ice this morning for the skate was Auston Matthews, which of course makes all of us go, uh-oh, where's number 34? What's he doing today? What are the expectations for a guy like Auston Matthews, who had arguably one of the best games of his career in Game 2?
Of course, Auston Matthews is always going to be a storyline, regardless of what he does. But you look at Game 2, a three-point night, 2 primary assists, the game-winning goal, probably going to go down as one of the highlight reel goals in the first round. I think that was underappreciated, just how Max Domi flicked it up, and I mean, just in stride, Auston Matthews brings it down from his glove and scores just a slick move on Linus Ullmark. So, yeah, the expectations are high. I think coming out of that game and just seeing kind of the struggle so far from Mitch Marner, Auston Matthews, and just highlighting by that breakaway goal is going to be the star for the Leafs, especially if they pass the first round, and that's old news. I think when you look at the generational talents, the all-time talents in the league, Auston Matthews is among that group.
Yeah, you talk about Marner. I mean, here's a guy who historically has struggled in the playoffs overall. I'm sure the Bruins don't do a lot of good things for the Leafs' psyche either. And the players, Yarncroc, they talk about, he expects the Bruins to come out hot tonight. What do you think this is going to look like in terms of the intensity of the matchup?
Oh, it's going to be high. There's a lot of mind games being played here. I think even Jim Montgomery this morning for his press conference, the Boston Bruins head coach, he wasn't too happy that there's an extra day between home games for the Toronto Maple Leafs here. They play tonight, Wednesday night, and then not till Saturday night. So the Bruins got to hang a little longer in Toronto here. So there's a lot of mind games and then definitely a lot of intensity. I think Brad Marchand, he actually gave some credit to the Leafs, again, adding to that mind game, saying they're playing for keeps. So I do think when you look at both sides, it got a little aggressive there at the end of the game. Former Bruin Tyler Bertuzzi gave a little jab at Brad Marchand. So the conversations are being had after the whistle. And I do think when you look at both sides, there's elite players on both teams. And just, I mean, yeah, with the recent history in the playoffs between the Leafs and Bruins, it's going to bring a lot as we kind of see the series go long. And I expect the series to go to 6 or 7. I think that's kind of always been my mindset, at least. And I think for a lot of people, after Game 1, it was easy to down on Toronto with a 5-1 loss. But I truly think this is going to go the distance. And I think as we go along this series, it's going to get even more physical.
Oh, John Viveiros, Game 6 or 7, that has Leafs fans, I think, holding their breath, or at least reminiscing of the last few years as well. Thanks so much for your time. I know you'll be on the edge of your seat watching this along with all of us. Appreciate your analysis.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.